Hello, 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 and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., alongside the leader of Squash Squad, Kaliko Yachts, who is not here at the moment, but who is always here, the American Scooter Dust.
My chair broke today, but don't worry, I just broke my everything.
I think we need to speak. It's not Fat Ass Finn, it's Fat Ass Scooter.
Well, I've been using my whole life. Wait, you said fat ass, not dumbass. Not half ass, never mind. Moving on!
It was a great week for us as this last Wednesday we interviewed Sarah Bubbles. Lots of laughs, a lot of wrestling oriented questions, which we don't always do on a wrestling podcast, but there's a lot of interesting anecdotes, interview questions, and whatnot. And you should definitely go into the archives to check that out. Lots of laughs. Um, this upcoming Wednesday, we got Brittany Brooks, a newcomer, but I like Sarah Bubbles, but different in other ways as well. She's only 17. Um, Dealing with an injury right now. We cover all of that. Some opportunities she's gotten because of her injury, what we expect back, and some career highlights of hers. Plus a lot more if you are into Marvel and Star Wars. Um,
Yes.
and now that we're done putting ourselves over, it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with a lot of news topics.
Oh yeah, where do we start?
How about we start with Raw becoming PG
Mmm.
14 again? I
Yeah, TV-14, not PG-14.
TV 14. Um, I'm a little suspicious of it until it actually happens. But does
Well, hmm,
what?
what would have to happen for you to really believe Raw was back to being, well, TV-14 is one thing. It's not TVMA, like
What?
the Attitude Era. But one, what would you need? What would you need to see to make you really accept it? And do we think that this is based on what we see? Do you think that they would possibly return to TVMA?
Well, first of all, to believe it be TV 14, all I need is the little bubble in at the beginning to say that it's TV 14. No, that's all I need.
Yeah, not even a thong or two.
Well, I mean, considering some of the wrestlers on today, it's give and take. There's some butt cheeks shown on Raw and SmackDown. Um,
I mean, NXT is in 3D. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's just Nikki the Lions.
um,
I'm sorry, that's 38 double D.
and it's the
Maybe
only
even
reason I'd watch NXT.
maybe even Triple J.
Yeah. Um, does this benefit WWE, or is it kind of like taking a step back?
Mm. Well, I think I think the WWE is finally at least paying attention to the shows that are popular, and they're all TV-14 and deal in topics that are not exactly always family friendly. I mean, does this mean we're gonna get one fuck every Raw?
Well, I mean, Edge hasn't been on TV for quite some time. Um,
It's interesting to see after being PG for so long what their interpretation of TV-14 is going to be.
and if that's necessarily a good thing.
My my big thing is they're going to be looking to try and capture a little bit of the sexiness of the Attitude Era and a little bit of the violence, most likely blood.
But that's the thing. I don't think WWE could people won't socially accept the quote unquote sexiness of the Attitude Era because it would just kind of be what objectifying the women's division, and then we go back a step into the Divas division, wouldn't we?
Well, see, the point, but it's not. It wouldn't be in the case of men, the male superstars objectifying the female superstars. It's the female superstars, you know, not being afraid to be, embrace the fact that they are, use their sexuality, and it's really awkward to say this. You know, I'm also thinking they're going to attempt probably more adult storylines. I'm betting we're going to see a same-sex romance. Not just implied by somebody interrupting a wedding.
I kind of feel like every time they did a same-sex storyline, they would go right up to the edge of it, and then they would back down. And I could, to a degree, I kind of understand getting cold feet about it, but I mean, don't tease it if you're not going to do it. I mean, the furthest we ever went was Billy and Chuck, and that ended with a whimper, not a bang. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I mean, do you remember hardcore lesbian action?
It was hot lesbian action.
Hot. It was hardcore to me.
it wasn't on. It wasn't on ECW. It was on Raw. But that wasn't a storyline. That was just a stupid publicity stunt, if anything.
Yeah, and I just remember them going like backstage, like, "Oh, who are you guys? Don't you know? We're the lesbians." And I think we may have gotten off topic here.
Um, other things they, other things that they could do story wise. I mean, they could do the Snitsky baby punt again.
Mm,
That's not very PG.
I'm pretty sure. Uh, uh, Baby punting is out of still TVMA.
That was
Um,
that was in the ruthless aggression era, not the attitude era. So I think it's
yeah,
PG.
yeah. Uh, and when we're done with this story, we have some breaking news.
Okay, well, I think I want to keep on this for just a little bit. I
No
mean,
problem.
is this still
Yeah.
uh, to compete with AEW, even though there's nothing really to compete at this point?
I mean, it could be the fact that somebody finally remembered that it Raw is on a paid cable network,
True.
and you can do riskier things, and still be a company that grants the wishes of Make-A-Wish kids and does stuff for breast cancer awareness and pediatric cancer awareness. That's the thing, is that they always felt they had to be one or the other. There was no happy medium.
And we'll get into this subject in a little bit, and that kind of seems like what they're doing with Lacy Evans, going back and forth with
Yes.
her. But again, we'll get into that. That's a whole other subject. And you do sound right. It does sound like it's always one extreme to the other, not really finding that happy medium. But with I believe SmackDown is still PG. Is that the
Yes.
happy medium? Having the
Uh,
main
um,
face of the company star on a PG show, but they're doing all this crazy shit on Raw, which Roman Reigns is really not associated with.
uh, that that is the happy medium. I mean, because you're never gonna get a TV 14 show on a public network. Not unless you're PBS or Dateline. Not even To Catch a Predator is on anymore. So, and not to mention all all those Dateline type stories are always on after 10 p.m.
Right. And the other
So,
thing that's on after 10 p.m. on a Friday is Rampage. And luckily, most of all their goals have OnlyFans. So, I mean, they're not giving anything away on free TV, no?
I mean, nothing you want to see. I mean, in a sense, I know that's terrible, but
Um, the last bit about this I was fairly curious about was Stephanie McMahon. I mean, she's in charge of the company right now. Is this kind of a flex on her part? Or was this a Vince McMahon idea, or what is going on internally that made this happen? Because it seemed like Vince McMahon was not on board with a TV 14 rating.
I think we have to see the content we get to determine that.
Okay, so the wait and see uh,
Yeah.
scenario. But it had nothing to do with Triple H, right?
Not that I know of.
What? What was that great termination?
Just a short little piece before we move on. It it was revealed that the special guest referee for the Usos Street Profits at SummerSlam, appropriately enough, is none other than Jeff Jarrett.
Which Jeff Jarrett though? Is it J-A double F on
J-E-F-F-J-A-R-R-E double
okay.
C.
I'm just
Uh,
dyslexic to the age.
uh,
Is it
don't
that?
don't forget the Kurger bin question.
So is it that Jeff Jarrett, or are we getting teenage Jeff Jarrett?
Uh, I think we could be getting all of them.
Oh,
It's most likely,
Papa Songo Jarrett.
uh, 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 I can't think of any clever puns on Chip Jarrett's name that go with other wrestlers.
Enough.
But yeah, I mean, I guess Nashville.
It's on theme. And we're only, what, 3 matches into SummerSlam at this point? Roman,
Uh,
Lesnar, Usos, Profits, and Miz, and uh,
uh,
Logan Paul.
Bianca Becky.
Oh, that was confirmed?
I mean, Becky won the #1 contender match. I can't imagine why they wouldn't attempt to do this at SummerSlam.
I mean, it makes the most sense now.
Yeah.
It kind of is that bookend of this.
Lashley in theory for the U.S. title.
That's right. How are you feeling about how this SummerSlam is shaping up? Considering we had a plea a week, what, 2 weeks ago, and now, having to set up another one in 3 weeks and get all that shit together?
I mean, hey, it could be worse. There could be, another pay-per-view uh, immediately after, the following week, which may be the case. I don't know if we're going to get into the NXT mystery
What's
at
that?
all.
Let's let's continue with this subject, and we'll get onto that mystery in a moment. Uh, I mean, you're right about the not having one the week after. I mean, that was primarily storyline purpose to get the belt on Roman. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, there's not going to be.
Uh, we
Oh,
also have the McAfee and Corbin and Liz and Ronda. And Miz and Logan Paul is not an official match, although it probably will be on Monday.
probably. Uh, there's no plea in August.
Uh, there is no because they're trying to distance as much time between that and Clash in the Castle, uh, because if you remember the last time the WWE attempted a pay-per-view from Europe, that was a legit, you know, event. They actually ended up taping it 2 days in advance.
Right. But
Uh,
also keep in mind that was at a time where you didn't have an internet connection to get spoilers.
True. I believe they're. I may be wrong about this, but they're probably going to do a European tour heading into that for like the last 2 weeks of August, leading into that first weekend of September.
So they're really going all out on this. It's
Uh,
not just a one and done. It's going to be a little UK takeover for most of these events.
yeah, yes, and that actually could be a very um, interesting segue into the NXT mystery, because it may have something to do with the fact that all the talent is potentially going over there.
They're doing a complete NXT talent haul into.
Well, I guess I will just get into this.
Sure.
Last week on NXT, there was a QR code on the screen, and holy crap! I think I see. I think I may just have seen Jack Tomlinson getting a monkeypox vaccine. Um,
What the fuck?
yeah, I'll tell you more later. I'm sorry. When weird shit happens, I point it out. Last week on NXT, they had a QR code that they were encouraging fans to scan, and it led to a website that said 8.10.11. Now, there have been many guesses as to what that is. It's there's a it's a Bible verse about rebirth. But
That was just the return of Chucky.
uh, this past Tuesday, um, there was another QR code fans were asked to scan, and this time it led to a Wordle puzzle, and it was a completed um, Wordle puzzle. The first one, first, it had 7 rows. First word was Quinn. None of the letters were right. Second word used was Becky. The C was right but out of order. The third one was Cruz, but the C was out of order again, and the other letters were right. Fourth word was Trick, but the C was again out of order. Fifth word was Brock, and the O and the C were both out of order. Final word was Toxic, and the C was finally in the right place, and the O was still out of order. Now, I immediately put this through a Wordle solver, and
Cheeto.
this was already solved, so if you go by the letters that aren't being used, it actually leaves you with one word. Because if you go by the O not being the third letter or the second letter, it means it's either the first or the fourth letter. And there are very few 5-letter words that begin with O and end with C. aside from Optic, and but the I is already not in this. The word potentially is Havoc.
We're bringing Jimmy Havoc?
Somebody made that joke on Reddit, and it's still not as funny. um,
Oh, Jessica? But no, they just brought her back from the dead world on Impact, so that's not.
so then I took the dates, or rather the numbers, and I'm like, wait a minute, what if this is a date? I mean, well, it can't refer to August 10th, 2011. And I'm like, what if it's UK formatted? And I believe October 11th is a Tuesday at 8 p.m. Or it could be October 8th, airing at 11 a.m. in the United States. Either way, I believe NXT UK is coming here. Um,
Interesting.
to possibly count, either to finally be absorbed into NXT, or it's to counter the fact that the main roster, most of the main roster, is going to be overseas. So we could possibly see uh, an NXT UK versus NXT War, but my money is on Halloween Havoc happening under the NXT UK brand.
Interesting. So definitely Chucky is returning.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
But
Last week on fucking Chucky.
uh it seems like I haven't heard anything about NXT UK, which kind of seems to be the norm for them. Uh but it does seem like at some point we did talk about this last week. I think it was last week
Yeah, we did.
about
Yep.
them being finally absorbed into regular NXT and becoming Super Saiyan NXT.
NXT 3.0, or maybe 2.5.
Yeah, 2.1.
I mean, given that
NXT wants
given
us
that,
again.
I mean, aside from the fact that finally somebody decided that, uh, you know, a kid being an opponent for everybody would just sound terrible. Oh, join us tonight as Brock Lesnar battles a kid. Oh God, Roman Reigns is beating up a kid because he's now Axiom and he's gonna wear a mask.
Oh God.
Um,
The most appropriate name for NXT is NXT TNA.
I
I
mean,
like
given
that.
the fact, given the fact that we can, see Nakia Lyons before she even enters a room. I mean, and I, I'm admitting I have a. I'm sorry. I have a huge crush. I love the thickness. I'm sorry.
I mean, who doesn't love Nikita Lyons? I mean,
Uh,
even Natalia cosplayed that for as her at Money in the Bank. So somebody cosplaying as a wrestler, Lacy Evans. What the fuck, Scooter? Well, what is Lacy Evans, and why do we even care about her at this point?
I,
Just for just for
I,
sorry, just for context. Last week on SmackDown, she told the fans to go to hell, and she turned heel. After we heard her gut-wrenching sob story for 9 weeks, but continue.
you say she went back to using nasties. So that southern twang seems to be working. Um,
I mean, I didn't feel like they should have left the lady character to begin with. I mean, yeah, if they wanted to do something different with her for a little while, sure, do it for a little while, but go back to the lady gimmick. Not this way. Not not 3 weeks and then all right. Well, we tried the what the military gimmick and it didn't work. Well, we didn't give it a chance to work. Well, let's go with what worked, pal. If it worked, if it did work.
I mean, you call it an injury, James, but this is. I have to blame this on
She has pregnancy
motherhood.
heat, is what you're talking about.
I have to blame this on motherhood. Um, it's the fact that after giving birth to her first child,
Second,
second, all right, fine, that she wants to be seen as a a
role model.
positive role model, and that unfortunately seems like it's hormones. I hate to say that, but I mean when going off your life, when somebody when somebody, even if it even when we know that who both parents are, and they aren't exactly better off, and maybe it's not exactly wise to have a child, they want to make a better life for the child. The fact that he bringing new life in makes them want to be a better person, and that's what I believe really led to.
So you're saying this military sob story gimmick that we had was a creation of Lacey, and they were just kind of appeasing her.
I would not be surprised.
And you know, Vince McMahon loves a good military gimmick.
Well, you also have to remember that we've really never had somebody share that level of personal history on camera before.
I feel like we have. I just can't remember at this exact moment.
I mean, her openly discussing her father, beating her, and the open topic of child abuse
Right.
and drug use. Um, I mean, aside from uh, uh, Xavier and Jey Uso, referencing the bad shit they've done. Um, I mean, Jimmy Snooker killed a prostitute, and that still, isn't
Not very
really
PG, no.
acknowledged. Um, so this makes me think that maybe the idea was Lacey's, but the idea of what she was sharing was not what she wanted to share.
What what the gimmick she had envisioned and what WWE did was two separate things.
Exactly.
And that would not surprise me if that actually happened. But is she pigeonholed at this point? Or is there anything we could do for Lacey Evans that gets her into, seeing her as top talent? Or is she just, you know, this and, not much more? What I'm asking is, are we ever going to see Shake Lacey Evans?
I mean, honestly, the way I would go, and this is terrible, but you've already had her admit to this stuff, and she wanted to be respected because she overcame it.
Have her
The natural response is, as any addict will tell you, um,
do the CM Punk
is
gimmick?
no, no,
The reform
no,
those you feel as ignorant and try to save them.
no. You have them become the junkie again.
Oh, really? That's so lowbrow.
Well, you know what? It's either that or Lacey's on the future endeavors list, and you know what? I would not be surprised if we see her on the future endeavors list.
Well, we will see. Um, Sasha Banks announced her first non WWE appearance. It's going to be at I believe a Chicago Comic Con. Um, Tickets weren't surprisingly that expensive considering uh how many of these cons I go to. So seeing her prices weren't that expensive. But what are your thoughts on Sasha Banks' first appearance outside of WWE? What can this lead to? And is it completely over for Sasha being in WWE?
Yes, and I will tell you why. And it's got to do with one thing and one thing only. Ever since it opened, Sasha has been the poster girl for the Performance Center. Her pictures were at the landing page. It was an evolution of Sasha Banks. That's been replaced by Roman.
Wow.
If that's not the WWE saying, yeah, yeah, guess what? Yeah, we broke up.
That was the Facebook switching to single move.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
But Sasha doing uh, conventions, cool. All right, good. Um, I feel that there's going to be a 50-50 reaction to this.
In what
She'll
way?
have she'll have her fans, her hardcore supporters, her diehards, and then she'll have the trolls, the
Right.
people that will get in line just to antagonize her and say, "Oh, what? Are you gonna take your ball and go home, Sasha?"
Yes. But
It's this is going to be a test of her resolve,
because she
and
doesn't have the protection of WWE at this point. It's just her.
yeah, and I I hope she's got a a great support system in place because it's going to be needed.
Right. And you are right about that.
Um, you know, I am, you know, honestly about Sasha, was it unprofessional? Yeah, it was. It was. Gonna I'm not gonna judge her on that alone, if I judge her at all. Um,
I mean, if it
uh,
was, in my opinion, if it was her first offense, I mean, it would have been a really, like, irrational decision. But, I mean, she's had her issues with WWE. We know what Sasha Banks does when she doesn't get her way, in a sense. And that's my opinion.
yeah, I just, I just hope Sasha is is ready for this because she she never really knew
Indie life.
exactly.
hmm And she said it was reported that she's not taking wrestling related bookings until January 1st. And her fee to appear at wrestling events were substantial. The only people hired were Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Sting, and Hulk Hogan. I mean, not bad company to be with. Um, and I mean, not everybody is going to pay that, but it does seem like there are a lot of interested parties simply because if Sasha Banks on your show, odds are it's going to sell. No?
Well, since she is being billed as Sasha Banks and not Mercedes Bernardo,
Well, not yet.
uh, one has to assume that the WWE is getting a cut.
Well, I mean, no. In the Chicago Comic Con event, she is billed as Mercedes.
Oh, okay then.
In parentheses, known as Sasha Banks. But I mean, that's
Uh,
not uncommon for a lot
okay.
of these events to say this is who they're known as being.
I mean, they could, in theory,
Not all
bill her as,
stars.
uh, as, you know, you know,
Briscoe Reeves.
as one of the co-stars of The Mandalorian.
I mean, that's what they. That's what it does in the description. You know her from wrestling in The Mandalorian. And that's
Mandalorian.
the Wrestlorian. I believe that's Tamatonga.
Man. Ooh. New gimmick. Mandy Lorian.
But then I feel like people just get confused with the car.
Yeah.
Mando in a DeLorean?
That's like saying Reese with her spoon, Reese without her spoon.
Well, I mean, it depends on what she's doing with this thing. You know,
That's like
Mando's gonna
that's
go and have great adventures in a car that goes back in time.
that's how William Defoe ends up becoming William DeFriend.
Okay, we completely went off subject. Um, come January 1st, do you think we could see Sasha Banks back in WWE?
No,
Even with Stephanie McMahon at the helm at this point?
I mean Stephanie has to hold firm.
Right. I mean, she is a McMahon.
Jan- January 1st, I'm assuming, is the 90-day compete clause after her contract runs out. Now, given that we haven't really seen any paperwork on her release or any formal announcement,
Right.
it
And
seems the WWE is content to let her pay her downside agreement rather than pay her the remaining part of her contract outright, or letting her buy her contract out. So, yeah, I think it's a case of Sasha bluffing one too many times. Thinking that the WWE would go her way. And yeah, it sucks, but she Sasha's not stupid.
no.
She clearly had, you know, backup plans. Yeah, as if she knew the consequences of what could happen if something like this were to occur.
I mean, the backup plan, in my eyes, is that she's Sasha fucking Banks, and that anybody would love to have her on their TV, whether it be in a wrestling or TV or acting capacity. I mean, the doors were open for her. So that's kind of what I see it is. Maybe there was the pieces were in place for, if this happened, she was ready for it. But I do believe that she believed that she was Sasha Banks and that things would be okay. And I honestly, I feel the same way. Who wouldn't want Sasha Banks on their TV, whether it be wrestling or acting, even reality at this point?
Mm.
You think we'll see
Well,
Sasha Banks on Love Island?
oh, absolutely not. Considering she's married.
She's married, so
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Maybe
yeah,
Temptation
because
Island?
yeah, no, she. Temptation Island is not for married couples.
Fair enough. Um, the considering how much the fee was for a Sasha Banks appearance, also we're not gonna see her on the Limitless Wrestling scooter.
Uh, wait, you think Limitless?
Yes. Well, we know how deep Tony Khan's pockets are.
You think? Do we think Randy Carver's pockets are that deep?
That's why I said that odds are we're not going to see her on a limitless, meaning independent wrestling shows aren't going
I
to
mean,
sell out 30 grand for Sasha fucking Banks.
I mean, we could see Basha Skanks, which sounds like a Star Wars prostitute.
We're obviously not to name Sasha Banks for obvious legal reasons.
Or or maybe Natasha Money Depository.
There you go.
I can't think of another name for a bank. Or
ATM?
or
ATM
Sasha Rivers.
Sasha of America? Sasha Chase?
Sa- uh, uh, Sasha Washington Mutual. Um,
There you go.
Sasha Capitalone.
These are all great names. Sasha, if you're listening, you're welcome.
Could be Sasha City.
Now on to somebody that has been around, that hasn't been around, but is coming back around. Booker T made his first wrestling in-ring appearance in quite some time at the last Reality of Wrestling event. I believe it was Summer of Champions 8 to captain his team, Team Booker against Team Sharmell. Uh, cool to see Booker on the card, no?
Well, I mean, when when you're facing off a team led by your own wife, um, well, it's
I mean,
that's
during the match,
a
all I heard that was audible was Adam Cole, stop. Adam Cole, stop.
Adam Cole is a fat motherfucker, but I listen to wrestling with entertainment.
Yeah.
That's a
Of
direct
course,
quote. That's not a deep fake of anybody.
and of course, on that very same show, the Return of Booker T, Izzy James competed and was sponsored by yours truly, Wrestling Entertainment. So,
Yeah, we're still waiting for the footage of that.
being
I don't know if we'll get. I don't know if we'll get footage, but
there's no, I mean, we got a a not a video package, but um a pixel package that said we sponsored him. And you got
nope, no. Yeah, I've been looking for the results. I can't find them. I know they were last Saturday,
yes,
I
I believe it.
believe.
All right. Um, then we got Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. They won the AEW Tag Team Championships, which honestly just seems like a clusterfuck at this point, considering that they went from uh, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy to the Young Bucks, which was originally supposed to be the Hardys, but obviously Jeff and his demons once again. Um, and now they're which prompted the Young Bucks versus FTR chatter. But now we're at the point that Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland are the tag team champions. What the fuck is going on with the tag team division in AEW?
The injured list.
I mean, the
I mean,
only,
what?
I mean, not, it wasn't injury, it was, those damn demons, that got Jeff Hardy, but I mean, it seems like everybody else is relatively healthy on the tag team side of things. I mean, we got the Lucha Bros, we got FTR, we got, well, we had Jurassic Express, Private Party, etc., etc.
Uh, see, I think
Your
this was
favorite, the Ass
more.
Boys. My
Yes,
favorite, the Acclaim.
why do you think the Gun Club was split from the Ass Boys? I mean, uh, I think this was done more to certify Swerve and Keith as a tag team
And maybe
because
just pacify them and keep them happy because
yeah,
those
that's that's
both
that's what I'm thinking.
both guys are. I mean, if anybody should have been, come into the territory and get a title match right away, it was Keith Lee. I mean, and Swerve could have got a TNT title shot. Um, so yeah, that's the only reason I see that happening. But could this all have been was it Plan B at this point because the Hardys were supposed to hold the titles?
I I don't know if the Hardys were even supposed to hold the titles.
Well, we could all agree that Jurassic Express was losing the ladder match, whether it be to the Hardys or to the Bucks. No?
No, I don't think the Hardys were ever penciled in for an actual title reign.
But I'm saying it kind of, I kind of felt like they were. I mean, the only other option was the Young Bucks, and it essentially had to go to the Young Bucks because the Hardys weren't available for that match. And I was, maybe, I have no idea at this point, but they didn't want the titles, and they had to get them off of them some way, and this was that way. Your thoughts?
Hmm. No, I still don't think the Hardys were really figuring into any long term plans. I really don't. I mean, hell, we saw a lot more of Matt before Jeff arrived.
Right.
Uh, we see Jeff once again screws up,
Mm-hmm.
and we barely
Unfortunately.
see Matt now.
And Matt's just into a position that he was in when he was in WWE.
You know, it's yeah, I this is probably is the case, but if I was someone looking from the outside in, I would assume that Matt has a lot of resentment towards Jeff.
Um,
I
it's hard
mean,
to say.
I mean, Matt was making his own. He was blazing his own path. And at a point, Jeff was too. And then, Jeff. It was almost everywhere Matt showed up. People were thinking this was 100% indication. Ooh, when's Jeff coming? When's Jeff coming?
Right. But
I mean,
that kind of seems like the norm for them at this point. Matt finds his way and his niche. Jeff comes in. Jeff fucks it up. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Maybe it's a little rougher than I would like it to say, but yeah, he fucked it up. And then Matt moves on, and Matt finds another niche and another way of doing things, and then Jeff comes again, Jeff fucks it up, and Matt is forced to do it all over again.
At this point, I would not be surprised if I see Jeff claiming that he's Matt or he's actually the husband of Rebby Sky.
Well, honestly, at this point, I still love Jeff Hardy. He's still one of the best of all time.
Yes, truly one of AARP's finest.
All I'm gonna say is I hope he gets the help that he really desperately needs, and he stays the hell away from pro wrestling because it does seem like it's a trigger at this point.
Oh, you know what they say: 8 strikes and you're out.
Yeah. Somebody that's not on a strike, but definitely not in a good place, I would say. Cody Rhodes. There's no timetable for his return. Apparently, the surgery that he had, there was a lot more blood than anticipated and some hemorrhaging.
I read it as he almost hemorrhaged.
He almost hemorrhaged. I I don't have all the facts in front of me, but
so they're slowing his recovery.
right, they're making it slower. They don't want to give him a timetable, because they don't want him to work to cut that down, and risk anything far worse. Um, I'm not exactly sure what the timetable was to begin with, but it kind of seems like a Royal Rumble return is the best case scenario at this point. Is it true?
I was reading that the timetable really was more around March, but given Cody's commitment, that the Royal Rumble probably would be the where he returns, and not only does he return, he most likely is winning it.
Which makes things slightly complicated because odds are booking Rock and Roman at Mania more than likely for the championship. So if Cody wins the Rumble and Roman and Rock are main event already, where does that leave Cody?
I mean, you could build Roman and Cody as it's a third generation battle.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe if Cody doesn't win the Rumble, Cody wins Elimination Chamber.
I mean, it doesn't. It's not about how he qualifies to get to WrestleMania. It's a matter of who, because Rock and Roman is probably going to be our main event. So how do you squeeze in Cody unless he is the main event of night 2? And Roman conquers Rock, Cody conquers Roman.
I mean,
the other
you could.
alternative is set in Cody once again at Mania.
Unless they're going with, unless they're finally going Randy and Riddle at Mania, I might put money on Randy and Cody.
But that's another guy. We don't have a timetable on Randy Orton when he's getting
that too.
Could there's never a good reason. There's never a good way to get an injury or being out or all that. But could have all of these injuries somewhat be a blessing in disguise because they might not be ready for SummerSlam, but they will probably be ready for Mania in April.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, there is the possibility that Rock and Roman is not for the title.
But then that would mean somebody would
hold
have
on.
to be Roman before Mania, right?
Nope. He could face Cody night 2 for the title. Rock can go over. Roman is already in a frazzled state because it's his first loss in over 2 years.
Right.
At that more than almost 3 years at that point.
Thing is, lost was in December of 2019.
Yeah, so yeah, we're looking at over 3 years at that point.
What?
I mean, and we're still basing this on Theory cashing in and failing.
Oh, actually, it's Austin. No, Austin is not cashing in successfully. I think we could both agree on that.
I'm gonna say that's 97% likely. 3% is, given that Theory's supposed to be an idiot, he mistakenly challenges for only one title.
And he wins the one title.
Yeah.
So, and then we split the belts back up. Oh, that's another theory, not Austin. Cody wins the Rumble and only challenges for the WWE Championship, and The Rock challenges for the Universal. And you have two title matches for 2 different nights of Mania.
And the question is Rock Roman more of a night 1 or night 2? I think if Cody wasn't here, I'd say night 2.
I mean, you could put Rock on night 2 now with knowing that Cody has his own title match at night one.
No, I would think if Cody wins the Rumble, he's he has to win it, and he's gotta do it on night two. That's gotta be how WrestleMania ends. It's the ultimate conclusion to the reason for Cody's return. It's it's an even bigger slap in the face to AEW.
Did they actually believe enough in him to put the title on him?
And they didn't do something stupid as let him book himself into a corner.
Or make him go through a flaming table and not have fire extinguishers ready? I don't know about you, but that really pissed me off.
I mean, there's so many ways this could go, and again, we're only operating on hypotheticals here. There's nothing ground in anything certain except for the possibility of Rock and Roman.
Right. And, I mean, what's probably going to happen is no disqualification match against Seth Rollins for Cody at this year's Mania.
I mean, they could have the first ever muscle ripping mayhem match. The winner is the first person to tear an opponent's muscle.
I feel like that was the Hell in a Cell match.
Oh, I mean, his ACL was already. Yeah, but whatever the was, I can't remember at this point. Or it's like the idea I had at the Broken Bone match.
How could you even? I mean, at least if you have a doctor, yeah. A doctor is a referee, but they hit into the doctor and he's incapacitated. So a regular referee comes in, doesn't know if a bone is broken, calls the match. The bone wasn't actually broken.
The broken bone screw job.
Yeah. Alright, let's leave this conversation here and conclude this episode. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Trail One Coffee. Join us this Wednesday as we interview Brittany Brooks. And follow Wrestling with Entertainment at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow us individually as well. I am at JameSJ993. You can follow Kaliko at I am Kaliko, and where can you find Scooter?
As always, find me on Twitter at ScooterDust, and of course, catch me, James, and Ryan Dust, the remix on YouTube, premium audio companion experience for all your alternate commentary needs. Next time we come to you, SummerSlam, July 30th. And of course, revel in all my Twitch antics, along with me and Rico Constantino Jr. and the rest of the Smoking Dragons clan, twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
For Kaliko Yacht and Scooter Dust, I'm Jimmy Shea, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Tommy, damn it!
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.